This is Love Notes, daily devotions from Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Grace and peace to you. We continue today in the 13th chapter of Job with Job's doxology. That's what's come before this. A doxology is a voicing of praise, except, as one commentator calls it, it's kind of a fake doxology. Job, in the previous chapter, has taken all of the things that we usually acclaim to God and kind of turned them on our head. And now he continues. Look, my eye has seen all this. I'm a witness. My ear has heard and understood it. What you know, I also know. I am not inferior to you. He's taking up the teachings that his friends have given him, and he's pushing back on it pretty hard. I'm not inferior to you, he says. I'm just as smart. I'm not a fool. My suffering does not make me feeble. It does not make me stupid. It does not make me one to be pitied and condescended to. But that's what we do sometimes with people who are suffering, right? Well, that's all right. You just get some rest. And while that may be true, they need rest. If it's a cover for us giving them pontifications about how they should be and how they should suffer, then we're missing the mark. And Job isn't going to have any of it. His friends are acting wise and treating him as a fool. Then he says in verse 3, but I would speak to the Almighty. In other words, I'm done talking with you, my so-called friends. He rejects the notion that his friends can judge him. They aren't his judge. Only God can be his judge. And what he wants is to speak to the Almighty. An impossible thing, which he has gone back and forth between acknowledging and demanding, acknowledging and demanding. And I would desire to argue my case before God. Job sees this as kind of a legal proceeding, where he'd like to present the fact that he is blameless. And remember, at the beginning, God said he was blameless. He would like to present this and ask the question, why are you punishing me? Why has all this befallen me? As for you, you whitewash with lies. Now he turns his attention back to his friends. You whitewash with lies. All of you are worthless physicians. You are doing me no good at all. There's no healing in what you say. And that's a primary thing when we help people suffer. Are we helping? Are we promoting healing? Or are we just trying to make ourselves feel better? And that's what Eliphaz and Bildad and Zophar have been doing. They've been positing their case so that their understanding of God and their neat little worlds can all stay in order. They don't want to look and see that what has befallen Job could easily befall on them as well. Job wants God to listen. Maybe it was the opportunity to listen through those friends who came, but they aren't in a listening order. Their ears are turned off and their mouths are open. And their guilt is in the fact that they make what is mystery, what is hard in life, into easy things and platitudes. They try to make life more palatable, and that's not always what faith leads us to. The Christian spiritual tradition is full of people who celebrate the dark night of the soul. The Jewish spiritual tradition is the same, with Job at the centerpiece of it. He says in verse 5 something that probably should be said to everyone who goes to help another. If you would keep silent, that would be your wisdom. Stop talking and listen. There are all kinds of books written in the spiritual tradition about holy listening, very few about holy talking. Maybe this verse should be tattooed on the arm of every pastor and every care provider, every family member who tries to give some comfort in the time of trial. If you would keep silent, that would be your wisdom. Hear now my reasoning, and Job now turns to talk about what he's trying to say again that they will not hear. Hear now my reasoning and listen to the pleadings of my lip. Will you speak falsely for God and speak deceitfully for him? Because that's what Job sees them doing. They speak for God when they can't, but they don't or won't speak for Job when they can and should. When we're in the presence of suffering, it is not the time to write another theology book. And as a pastor, I'm sometimes called upon to walk this line between explaining things and just being with people. And I know that the better part of ministry is just to be with people, even if they get frustrated that I don't offer any answers. They could be present to Job. They could listen to him and tell them that they understood. Even if they don't agree with him, they can say they understand where he's coming from. It's a bit like Plato's more famous quote that says, "I'm the wisest man in the world because one thing I know, that I know nothing at all." Wisdom comes not from knowing and then plunking your knowledge down on other people to show off, to fix, to blame, to explain. To say that you don't know, there's the better part of wisdom. Down in verse 10 it says, "He will surely rebuke you, my friends, if in secret you show partiality. Will not his majesty terrify you and the dread of him fall upon you?" In other words, do you think that you have God so easily figured out? Where do you get that? Verse 12 says, "Your maxims are proverbs of ashes." I think I'm going to try to remember that verse next time I encounter somebody who seems to have the answer to everything, who's a know-it-all, who says this is the greatest, or this is the most important, or this is the truest, or whatever the case might be. Their maxims are proverbs of ashes. Their defenses are defenses of clay. In other words, they're easily pushed over. In other words, they've come to Job and they've talked and talked and talked. Blah, 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 blah. And there has been no healing power in anything they have said. Job seeks and proclaims that he wants unity with God on the base of truth. He just wants to know the truth. Why are things the way they are? And while maybe his friends are very erudite and very blessed with lots of rhetorical skills, Job's faith, his faith that allows him to, even when he is absolutely in the pit of suffering, to stay with God and to keep asking for answers, is the example that this whole book is trying to give us. May we stick with God even when the going gets tough. May we stick with God and plead for the answers. And when we're one of the friends, may we learn to shut up. Amen.